Welcome back to Take Them Out for Dinner First, mate. My word. Right now, I think Arsenal can win the league. How's that for a hot take? Stunning and brave. Like and subscribe for more. I don't like doing predictions before a window is closed, to be honest. But right now, if you're asking, you didn't. I think we have a bigger chance than last year for sure, for multiple reasons. But I feel it will depend on what happens with City's investigation. Can we keep our players fit? Fine margins, the usual stuff. However, today is Monday, the 19th of August, and the English transfer window closes at 11 p.m. on the 30th of August. And I think there's a pathway Arsenal can take in the next 11 days that can make me change from can, might, maybe to we will win the league. I would be happy to predict for the first time in my adult life, on camera, in front of thousands of people, that Arsenal are going to win the title. To be fair, who would care if I was wrong? City's 14 fans? I want to talk about what that path looks like in this video, but firstly, am I personally happy with Arsenal's transfer business this summer window so far? Being totally honest, kind of. Now, when you're really good, it's harder to improve. Some other clubs may look like they've had brilliant windows in comparison to us, partly because they have a lot of space to improve, and we don't. The window isn't over. It's always important to say we don't know everything that's going on. Transfers aren't the only way to improve, and Mikel has been very keen on stressing the idea of falling in love with the players we already have, so on and so on. But in terms of what we've confirmed, it is about a 3 out of 10 window so far for me. And if Mourinho gets done, 5.5. If you disagree with my rating, fine. But do you honestly feel that we've maximised everything we could have possibly done by signing Calafiori and Mourinho and selling Emile Smith-Rowe in this summer window? Is that the furthest Arsenal could have possibly moved the needle, all things considered? Maybe you do. Even without further business, you feel this is a maximised transfer window. But I suspect there's a lot of you out there who don't feel that. So, solutions, not problems. How do we maximise it from here? What would maximising look like, and what is in the way? Most crucially, in these remaining 11 days, you know I'm going to say it, I feel Arsenal need a forward. And I say forward intentionally because we need to be specific about what problems we're actually trying to fix. A lot of mainstream pundits will say Arsenal need a number 9 because in their head, for some reason, Arsenal have a goal scoring issue. And I have no idea why. Real Arsenal fans know the issue isn't scoring goals. We scored our most ever Premier League goals last season for the second year running. It's something else. I call it a skills gap. Think about our group of defenders. What don't they have? They have carries, passing, defending the shoulder, 1v1s, goals, assists, duels, aura, everything important. But in my view, there's a skills gap in the forward area that can't be solved internally. I've spoken about this before, but it hasn't changed, and we're seeing it playing out in this early season. I don't think we're good enough on the transition. A number of times in the Wolves game and during pre-season, I think we've seen a lack of pace and good decision-making on the break. Quick side note, how many counter-attacking goals can you remember Arsenal scoring in recent times? There are, of course, some, but as Mikel himself has said recently, we need to be a team who can thrive in any context, and we will be in that context this season at some points. I also still feel we don't have enough height. Kai Havertz is our only forward who is over 6 foot. If he can show us this aerial threat in the box consistently, we haven't seen before, great, and what a goal, by the way, but especially seeing our usage of the ball to the back post in the early parts of this season, it would be useful to have more. I also still don't feel we have someone who forces the issue on their own. Someone who can create that moment of separation from a standing start and get their shot off in the box with no right to. Someone who dribbles 5 defenders and slots it bottom corner in a cagey game, or scores a 30-yard banger when we just didn't deserve it. Saka's kind of bordering on this, but I still feel like he's brilliantly supported by White and Ødegaard and those around him. Who do we have who can consistently make goals out of literally nothing? And I also think we lack box efficiency in terms of finishing, which is Mikel's opinion too. In fairness, I probably struggle to argue with him. Sounds like Ivan Toney might have done, and that's not worked out very well. Now, are you going to solve all those issues in one magical, perfect player? Well, at the start of the summer, I felt there were players on the market who did do a lot of those things, but that didn't happen, or hasn't happened yet, for whatever reason. But what I find a bit maddening about this discourse is this. If you can't sign the future of the position in a summer, why does that stop you doing anything? Why, if there's no dream player available, is it just, oh well, see you next year. We're trying to beat robots. Listen! It comes down to this. Are there players on the market who are an upgrade on Eddie and Reece? Please say yes. Can we sign a player in world football who closes that skills gap even a little bit and is an improvement on our 6th and 7th attacker.
But there's no one out there!
Disgruntled Arsenal fan, I'm so glad you asked. Osimhen, Leao, Gnabry, Rodrigo, Rashford, Gyökeres, Mudryk, Bowen, Isak, Kudus, João Pedro, Mitoma, Semenyo, Adeyemi, Chiesa.
A few moments later.
Lookman, Sane, Coman, Sterling, Adingra, Barcola, Madueke, Simons. Any of those doable? I've said it before and I'll say it again because it's worth repeating. Every single one of those players will have issues. Injuries, wages, would they move, adaptation, fit, everything. But the perfect player with none of those doubts doesn't exist. So pick your problems and work on those. If you're asking me right now, I like Rafinha and I'm sort of coming around to the idea of Madueke. But this is the kicker. Fans aren't meant to be scouts. It's not a fan's job, really, to know who's out there. I can go on YouTube and fall in love with someone in an afternoon. I'm an idiot. I would have signed Calvert-Lewin. Arsenal's recruitment team are the experts. They will have detailed insight, tactical checklists, stats, scouting reports, playlists, and so much more on players I bet you and I have never even heard of. It should be enough, in my opinion, as a fan, to say, I think we need investment in our least invested area and let the club do what they need to do. Some might say, why not just wait until the perfect player comes up? But I want to beat City this year. And it's not about spending irresponsibly on players we don't need. It's about addressing issues in the squad maturely as best we can. When we signed Trossard, he wasn't the future of Arsenal Football Club. In fact, we'd just been beaten to a future type signing. By that logic, we shouldn't have signed Trossard because he won't be here for 10 years and he won't get another contract. And I don't think this is a money issue, by the way. I would recommend listening to the experts, not me, as always, but the best estimates are that Arsenal are in a really good position financially. Just to finish on this bit, everyone went into the summer expecting a forward. The club themselves literally tried to sign one. So let's not now reverse engineer a reason why it's a good idea to leave that position unexplored. I suspect the Eddie sale gets done, and then we will look to get a forward in. So let's do it. Next on the path, I think there's some exploration to do on the outgoing side. I found it interesting that Jakub Kiwior wasn't included in the matchday squad against Wolves, even with no Tomiyasu. If Tomiyasu could struggle to get into matchday squads if everyone's fit, considering Calafiori and Timber were already on the bench, Kiwior definitely will, although the everyone fit part is a big if. I'm sure Mikel would want 8 fit senior defenders in his ideal world to pick from, but sometimes you have to face reality, and I don't think it's a good idea to ask a senior international player to sit around and have basically no minutes. With the showings of Lewis Skelly at left back to consider as well, if the option comes up, especially with the recall option as a failsafe, I'd definitely be interested in a loan for Kiwior. I think one of the biggest things Kiwior needs is a confidence boost, and you only get that through playing minutes. Kiwior sat in the stands depreciates both him as an asset, but also him as a player, which only makes us weaker. Finding him a pathway could be a good step forward in these final few weeks. I'd also like to see us resolve the second goalkeeper, which is obviously hugely contingent on what happens with Ramsdale. Ajax have shown interest, and I guess we'll see what happens in the final week or so. This is potentially a bit of a hot take, but I don't know how much I love Ramsdale as a second goalkeeper. A second goalkeeper should be calm, reliable, and dependable with 1 or 1,000 minutes. I'm not expecting top quality, I'm expecting to know what I'm getting. And Ramsdale seems to be a guy who needs the rhythm and competition of games to stay focused and be at his best. I mean, he's literally said it himself, and I think he's too good to be a number 2. I may be over-indexing here, but the performances against Brentford last year did worry me. Of course, he's under pressure, he's destabilised, but do I trust Ramsdale to come in out of the cold and give us his absolute best level reliably? Not at the moment. On paper, at his absolute best level, he's one of the best second-choice goalkeepers in Europe. But I just don't know what I'm getting with him at the moment, and that worries me. A good number 2 can have massive ramifications across the season, so if he does stay, I really hope he proves me wrong. Finally on this path, and this isn't like massively crucial, I'd say it adds a 0.5 or a 1 to the overall score, I'd love us to take a risk on a prospect. Hear me out here. Let's say a late offer comes in for a Reece or a Vieira. They're the 2 squad slots that I'm not sure right now we've totally maximised, and they're 2 guys I can't see as heavily reliant on minutes-wise. Jesus and Zinchenko, for example, I don't know if we've maximised in terms of wage and output, but I do think we'll rely on them minutes-wise, if you follow my logic. There must be young players out there that we're looking at. Look at the new appointments we've made all over the world. Players we think, what if? And the question I'm asking is this. Fabio and Reece getting 500 minutes, let's say, in all comps again. What does that achieve? If that's the plan, Does that help us get over a certain line? Does it raise their value? Is it useful for them? Does it help their game particularly? What is changed for them by next summer, let's say, with that amount of minutes? Or on the flip side, are we banking on Reece breaking into the team this season, or Vieira taking over from, say, Odegaard, Rice, Saka? So, and this is a question, not a definitive, we should absolutely do this, could those minutes go to someone that we're trying to assess? Do we create more value this way, rather than the other way, for both Fabio or Reece or whoever goes out, and the player we get in? These types of squad building ideas can feel a little bit abstract until you hear the options that are out there. It's like when you get a link to a player, and then you make it make sense for yourself in your head. Or I do. I don't know the market well enough, but I know someone who does. The brilliant scout and analyst Ben Mattinson, who you can find on X at Ben_Mattinson_, who called Calafiori months ago, by the way, compiled a list for me when I sent him a mad DM about this late at night. I asked Ben what young 1v1 stretcher defence type wingers are out there and what number 10s are out there with a quality final ball, all at a prospect level. Ben was brilliant and gave me a number of names, which I'll throw up on the screen here, along with Ben's comments, and you can have a look at them in your own time if you're interested. I don't know if any of these guys are the guys or total bums, because it will be one or the other, of course. I'm just always surprised at the amount of talent that is out there. Every player at Arsenal should be competing against every player in world football, not just the ones the fan base in general are aware of. An injection of youthful exuberance, even just with Ranieri this season, could be key in a few moments over the season. Thanks to Ben for his input. Please go and check out his great work. Arsenal could, of course, win the league without doing any of that. We can keep Eddie, we can keep Ramsdale's number 2, we can keep Kivior, we can sign no forward, no prospect, even no Marino. And we could win the league. Of course we could. We are brilliant. But, and forget my views, insert your version of how you maximize a window, how you make this a 10 out of 10 in your head. Why wouldn't we try and do that in this last 11 days? Some people think we might already have enough. Cool, but why not make sure? It's a bit like trying to pass an exam without opening the final 2 chapters of the textbook. I mean, fine, the material might not come up. But why take the risk? Maybe you do revise that material and it makes no difference. But was it the wrong thing to do? Although that said, I was watching Breaking Bad at 3 a.m. on my phone under the covers the night before my GCSE biology exam. So maybe I'm not one to talk about maximising exams. We look incredibly exciting in so many ways. But in these next 11 days, we can become so exciting that for me personally, it makes us the favourites for the title. Let's maximise the market, leave no stone unturned, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very busy final few weeks.
If you like The Different Knock, you can support us on Patreon monthly, or you can buy us a coffee.